Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson, and I welcome you back sincerely to my beautiful full disclosure of everything channel. Now, I am going to give you a very graphic warning. You are going to be hearing information that is very distressing from this lady and her childhood as a little girl. So, as ever, do not let your children in the room. Please do not be selfish. Please think of them. We are giving you a warning. Put your headphones on or listen later. Now, I'd like to welcome this beautiful lady who I've seen on Facebook popping up, popping up. She does these readings. She tells you things like, I just spoke to Whitney Houston. She's meaning, as a medium, a clairvoyant medium or whatever, the depth of her skills, she'll explain herself. She's speaking to the dead. She's giving information. She's going into subjects that people don't want to go near, but she has the courage to do that. I told her earlier that I saw briefly her on a podcast. I don't even know who it was, but she mentioned something about having a horrific, violent, dark childhood. And I thought, right, that is what I need to link into this girl and do my role to bring her to my beautiful audience and share her story, which I don't know about it. And that's wonderful. We're going to find out together. And then I said to Rebecca, what do you know about me? She said, nothing. I said, excellent. That's even more perfect. So without any more further ado, I would love to bring forward the beautiful Rebecca Barron. Hello, my love. How are you
Oh,
doing?
hello. I'm good, thank you, Danny. Thank you for that lovely intro. Really nice. Thank you for having me on the show, even though you know nothing about me.
Well,
Good.
like I said, we recognize, I see in you, there are certain signature physical frequencies and physical signs when someone has gone through horrors. You can see it. It's very obvious to most people who've also gone through similar, and so I recognize that in you. But what I would love for you to do, Rebecca, as much as you are comfortable, start at the very beginning of life, like, where you grew up, if you like, and the first interactions with whatever you are interacting with.
Okay. Well, I didn't get my memories back until in my 30s, but I grew up in a big family, big parents are Irish, six siblings, or the six of us, sorry. But in that time, there was friends of the family. So these friends of the family were Freemasons, and I was taken and placed under a MK Ultra, which is a mind programming, um, which was the head of that was the British royal family. So I went and met many members of the British royal family, that being Queen Elizabeth was the head of it, and they decided what path I was going to go on and what programming that was going to be placed upon.
Can you explain a bit more about that? Just get a bit more detail on that. So you're saying that a Mason took you from your family and took you to the royal family. Where did you go? Buckingham Palace? Like, set that up for us. What does it look like, and who were you seeing apart from Queen Elizabeth?
Okay,
Tell us.
so the memory that came back, I was with the handler at the palace, and we were in this very large room, and there was many members of the royal family, but the one that was focused on, because the one that had the most charge or the most dominance in the room was Queen Elizabeth, and they were discussing what program between them. They were looking at me like I was a rat, basically. They were discussing what program I would be placed upon. And in that, I was only around 4 or 5 years old. And in that, they were also mentioned the names of the two men that I would be with when I was older, which those two men I was with.
You mean as in
Um,
husbands, lovers, partners? They select.
yeah, husband, and then the following partner. We were together for 7 years. I was engaged to him.
Okay. What other
Um,
royals were there, Rebecca? What royals were there apart from Liz?
um, there was many. There must have been about 15 royals. But with the memory, when the memory came back, because all the energy of the memory, it was the energy of the queen that was the most dominant. So she was the one. She was giving basically the royals. If it's Charles, Prince Philip was there, Andrew, all of them really, and the illusion that they had a choice in what was going to happen to me, but she had already made that decision. So I could see that she was manipulating the situation in order to give them the illusion that they had some sort of control. But it was the queen that had the main control. And they all sucked up to her. That's the energy that I got. They sucked up to her. So if she would cause problems in their life, and then they would go running to the queen. So I met the Queen again. I met her a couple of times. Of memories, I may have met more, but the memories that have resurfaced at a manor house in Derbyshire. I was taken to a satanic ritual, so I must have been about 5. And we went in, I was with the handler, and I went into a foyer, into the big manor house. There was a foyer there, and the Queen was by the stairs, and we walked up to her, and she kind of scanned me, Dani, like just scanned me like a computer. And from the scanning, she said that there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with my heart. And the handler was trying to, I know, I need more time with her. And then, yeah, she acted very inhumane, even the way it was like a computer. And then I was directed into a big room in this manor house, and there was lots of children, my age, older, and I was, but they weren't acting like children. Like if you get loads of children in a room, they're screaming, they're running, they're playing. All the children were just like looking in a daze, not moving, just standing. And I was asked by the handler to pick a child to stand next to. And I picked a little boy. He seemed younger than me, but he was completely lost. I felt really sorry for him. So I went over to him, and the handler tied a red string around our wrists. And we kind of just waited there for a long time. And then someone guided us out, and we guided out outside, and they were doing like a ritual of some sort. And the Queen was at that ritual. So I was standing there and I saw the Queen, but there was many people there. The handler was behind me, and I was a bit naughty because I wasn't fully programmed yet. And I looked at the string and I realized I could get out of the string, and I did. And I got out and I ran, and the handler got me, and after that, his status in the Freemasonry was affected, I think, because he really, after that, the trauma that was inflicted on me was very personal from him and his wife. So as the memory started to come back, I had to understand why they were doing what they were doing. What were they doing to me, kind of thing. I realized through my psychic abilities that my heart was my teacher and my mind was the student. So I started to learn, and I started to learn about the brain, because my brain had been very affected by the programming. The programming was it was basically trauma based. So basically to get me very frightened of myself, and make me very scared of who I was, and very scared of living, or actually coming into the body. Because when you inflict trauma, when trauma was inflicted on me as a child, my heart receded back. And we're here to connect our hearts to our body, our consciousness to our body. So what trauma does, it splits the brain. So the brain has nothing to decode. Your brain, your mental brain, is here to decode you and who you are. So if there's nothing to decode, then it will need substance from the outside. So this is where addictions come in. This is where people get obsessed with information outside of themselves. And it's been a whole manipulation to get people to focus on the outside of themselves rather than the inner world of oneself. So I started to learn hugely about the brain, because I needed to heal. But when I started to wake up and started to dive into my light and use my gifts, I started to get attacked. So in my 30s, I started to get attacked by the system. So my memories came forward, and I started to realize that the whole of our system, governments, religion, the medical system, the Vatican, is all run on these satanic frequencies, meaning that the people in charge of them, when you get to the root of it, is satanic. And all these systems have come in place to keep us controlled, manipulated, abused. So although I was at a very intense, I was basically seeing what they were doing to the whole of the human race, to all of us, really, traumatize us so we don't fully come into the body. And the light of us is our true intelligence. And the light of us actually transforms our DNA, so we grow and thrive and evolve, and the systems are trying to stop that evolution, that natural evolution that we have.
Yeah.
Mm.
Why do you think that these people that befriended your family and selected you out of the six children, why do you think they chose you?
Um, well, what they did with me is I was used as a battery. So they work these beings that are not human, these reptilians that take over human beings. They don't have enough light within them. They're heartless, so they need the light of others. So I was deemed as a battery, and therefore I fed the system with my light. So this is why they set up the people, the partners. So the interactions with them, sexual interactions with them, it would go into the system. So they live off sex. One of their frequencies is sexual frequency, and that part of that's why reality. If you go to, if it's the Epsteins, the royals, the governments, and everything, they're very inhumane when it comes to sex, and this is why sex is such a problem, because the reptilian that takes over the human being, in order to stay attached to the host, the reptilian needs sex, so it turns the host into a sex addict, and this is why it's rife through all the elites. They have because the reptilian needs sex in order to stay connected to the human body.
Mhm. So go back to the event because I know other people because I'm wondering or, although there's anyway what happened to the little boy? So you're running away, you get caught, taken back into the room again as potentially what happened to that little boy and other children?
I don't know. I don't know I don't know. I didn't majority. I have a couple of one other memory of lots of children being involved in programming, but the programming I went through, I was by myself, so I never made friends with any of the kids
Mhm.
that I met along the way. But I don't have a lot of memories. So it was one memory, so I don't know what happened to that little boy.
Right.
But what I do know is that these people that get programmed, some are going to be used to be politicians, and so they get abused. The consciousness level is so reduced that a reptilian can come in place, and then the reptilian we think is human, but it's actually what I call a hybrid human. So they get put in places of power to hold the systems up, because the systems are there to suppress us, and we actually grow out of the systems naturally, but they need human beings or human being bodies, so they traumatize. I was like Keir Starmer, and I looked at him. Well, the consciousness of Keir Starmer, that had gone when he was a very little boy, very, very traumatized. And what's in place is, when you look at him, it's not a human, it's a reptilian, hundreds of years old in that body. But our eyes don't see it unless you've got that psychic ability.
Yeah.
That and everyone does have that. It's just tuning into it.
Yeah, it's true. So now this is good. So let's slowly break this down because people tend to switch off because they've been MK Ultra'd on a mass global scale. People get pissy when we try and tell them, sorry, darling, but you've also been brainwashed, manipulated, stimulated out, probably via trauma, upset, violence, sadness, grief, loneliness, into a vibratory resonance where you can't actually feel your own battery, as you mentioned. So people say, oh, for God's sake, how could the Queen be a reptilian? That's so stupid. How rude. But they don't realize that they slow down their, molecular structure. They solidify. Well, anyway, why don't we just try and break that down in Rebecca Barron terms, because you're doing so well out there. How can a human physical vessel inhabit a reptilian, and still come off looking like a 3D human?
Because they the DNA is a human being. So the DNA, when the babies are born. So when, like, Keir Starmer or the Queen was born, it was a human. Now all of reality is created from two energy systems. You have the masculine energy, which is the DNA, which keeps everything in the physical form. And then you have the light of that, which keeps everything alive. So your body, your physical body, even though you're female, the the physicality of it is run by masculine consciousness, and the light of you is the feminine consciousness. Same as a tree. The physical aspect of a tree is the masculine, and the light of it that keeps that tree alive, to keep it all gorgeous and everything, is the feminine consciousness. So you've got two energy systems. That why they're obsessed with DNA is because the reptilians can merge with a certain DNA, and they want to keep that DNA in place. This is why religion is so prevalent, because we worship the DNA. If you worship a god outside of yourself, which is male, usually male god, your heart, when I look at the brain, the heart is worshipping the DNA of the individual. So when I look at the brain, and everything that goes on in the brain is going on in the body. So your heart consciousness I see on the left side of your body, and your mental side, your DNA, your masculine side, which is the decoder of you, is on the right side of your body. So when someone worships the DNA, they're worshipping, when someone worships a god, they're worshipping the masculine, they're worshipping their DNA. So it stays the same, and they want it to stay the same. That's why we've got religion. Now, these beings, they are in a different frequency range. So we don't see them, but they can merge with our DNA, and then they can take control of that human's mind. So they can steer that body through by merging. So it's like a radio show. Do you know what I mean? Like the frequency, and they get in, and they sit in generally in the traumas, so you can't see, because people who don't want to look at their traumas, then their brain is not got the light in there. Their brain goes. So when I look at a brain, it's generally compartmentalized because of all the traumas that a human race has gone through. And part of our evolution is to heal those traumas. When the healing hasn't happened, then the brain is like dull, it's dark. And the reptilian can get into that dullness and take over the mind of that individual. But they like certain DNA. They because it's easier for it to take over. So our DNA at the beginning, eons ago, was tampered with. Our DNA was tampered with, so the reptilians would take over. Would be easier for us to, easy for them to take over our minds.
What do you know about that? I mean, let's just go into all the elements, because what you're doing here, Rebecca Barron, you are expressing consciousness in form, which is your physical body. Your consciousness has come here and ascertained certain elements that you've created as a belief system for you, which is incredible. And there are going to be people out there that have been asleep, not able to function or grasp onto something. And it's someone like you that comes along and they go, oh my God, now I get it. Because there are many of us doing what we do, putting information into the field, but not everybody can hear us, see us, relate to us. They think we're ridiculous. Until, like I say, someone like you comes out, puts your frequency out with all this collated information, lived experience, and other energies, pick it up and they go, that fits. That fits. It doesn't mean that everything I say you believe and vice versa. None of that matters. What matters is the consciousness gets to evolve out of this matrix system that we are in. So take what you will to the people watching, have an open mind, because there's lots of different elements there, and you've really got to listen, because Rebecca is speaking on many different levels, multi-dimensional levels, not just physical levels. So you're doing a brilliant job. I really appreciate you and everything you're here to express. And honestly, it's definitely, you've lived it, girl. You've definitely lived it. Now, in terms of the reptilian frequency, do you think that they inhabit bodies, possess bodies effectively, another firm of use of term, that have a specific blood group, or is it trauma-based frequency match?
They need trauma to sit in so they can hide. One is ego and but trauma, but I'm not sure about. From what I understand, the reptilians use demonic energy, one, to sort of flip reality, become kind of like, so if we just met a hybrid human, then they would if we met a hybrid human without the demonic energy, so the demonic energy and the reptilians work together. It's like an energy that combined, and the demonic energy kind of flips reality. So it gets you to see them like the opposite of what they are. So they can be quite charming and everything like that, but they're obviously not. And these beings were created by a being called the Watchers, these giants that live outside of this reality in another universe, that have very little light consciousness and rely heavily on technology and also parasiting off other realities. And we're one of those realities that they're parasiting off.
Perfect.
So they created the reptilians, but the reptilians were created they stole our DNA, and they created the reptilians from our DNA. So they were actually created in order to take over the minds of us. And they were how they stole with DNA was the traumatized DNA. So it's traumatized DNA. So it's DNA that was completely disconnected from the heart. So you can get a human being that has reptilian traits, which we'd call narcissistic traits, but then you actually have reptilians that are actually physical beings that take over the minds. But they're two different things. Yeah.
So fascinating. I'm loving how you're breaking this down for people. And again, the narcissist. I think there's an element of narcissism in every person, not saying reptilian, but that kind of trait where
Yeah.
we've got to be really careful, right? That narcissist trait.
Yeah. Really.
Very cold and reptilian. But thank you for saying that reptilians and demons are different beings. My first book is called Angels, Demons, and Aliens, where I break down my experiences with these three different physical entities that all come in on a different frequency. And you cannot believe, especially the religious programming, how many people say, no, demons and aliens are the same being. No, Nelly, they're not. They're
No.
not. But they can mimic each other. But thank you, because you're coming in from a higher perspective, breaking down pre-watchers, we'll go back to them in a second, that the demons and the reptilians are not the same. So tell me, who you called them the watchers. Who are they? Who mess with the original human DNA blueprint, in your opinion?
The Watchers. So the Watchers are like giants, and they just look like us. They, humanoid like us kind of thing. They've been on the planet, but from what I can gather, that they couldn't stay on the planet because the atmosphere was too high for them, and so they became very jealous of us. And they knew we were there, and they were very good with technology, and they're able to break in. But they brought in, they like the Egyptian beings, the aliens from there, to kind of harvest, I understand, harvest Earth and harvest the human beings, and also bring in religion to get us to worship beings outside of ourselves. So, and the Egyptians started to die because of the atmosphere, and also because they looked different, human beings started to turn on them. So they needed another being to come in to hide in the darkness, to manipulate and get humans to be puppets for them. So this is where the reptilians come in, and a lot of ET contact come in from there, because so real ETs, the ETs that don't manipulate, abuse, dominate or anything, wouldn't come in through our skies. It just wouldn't, because they're more involved. So the ones that we see are the ones that are involved with really dark stuff.
And
And
there are Nordics, or any entity you can imagine. There are Nordics that are actually reptilians masquerading as beautiful, loving
yes,
Nordics.
yeah, I picked that up as well, because the reptilians, they've affected the whole of the universe, because Mother Earth, this planet that we're on, this universe is a projection from within inside of her out. So all the planets are connected to Mother Earth. If Mother Earth goes, all this universe goes. She's the mother. So everything that's been affected here affects the whole of the universe. So the deception, the splitting of the brain, this universe has had a very, very unhealthy relationship with another universe, a very abusive universe next door. And this is why we have an abuse victim mindset, why we go into abuse victim relationships, why countries abuse one another, and there's a victim. So abusive, it's everywhere. And that's because our universe was invaded by an abusive energy, the Watchers, the reptilians, the technology that came through with it. So
Is that something that you have physically witnessed? Is that something you were shown? Is that something you read or were told? Like, where are you getting this information, this basis of your belief system from?
Um, I've had well, one, like in the memories, when the memory came back, like for instance, satanic rituals, and I started to, when I got the memories of the satanic rituals come through, I started to understand that these aren't human and they're actually worshipping another reality. Yeah. And they're bringing that reality closer. That's what they're doing at the rituals, for more power, for more control in this reality. So I started to understand there's another reality that's going on that's having interference into this reality. I had an experience, a really horrendous experience with Jimmy Savile. I was taken, trafficked to Jimmy Savile, and I was taken to his flat, and I was about 5 or 6. I was told to lie on the floor, and it was like a pentagon on the floor in this very dingy, yucky flat. And he started to dance before he raped me. So he danced, and these beings came out of him. So I knew he was like a portal. And the beings that came out of him were the Watchers, and they watched him rape me. And so I started to learn that there's an interaction with another reality, and then also I do question and answer sessions, and they bring in little nuggets for me of understanding the control systems that happens every couple of weeks on my Patreon channel. People from all over the world come and they ask me questions, and then I go to connect with myself, and just, our hearts know everything. So it's just learning, basically, what our heart has to understand. We all share the same truth in reality. So when we go deeper within ourselves, we're all connected to one organism, and that organism understands everything that's going on in this reality. But our minds don't, and our minds can get distracted from belief systems outside of ourselves, and we tell ourselves lies and everything like that. So part of the healing is actually to line up with our hearts and our truth of ourselves.
There's so many ways to go here. Again, I want to go back down your timeline to childhood again to also share your story, because it's so important for people when they're building respect for someone they've never seen before, understanding and having compassion for the horrendous journey that you've had to traverse, which has given you all this insight that you're now sharing as a means of healing others and helping others to tap into their repressed memories and bring that to the fore so they can be a whole being and release that trauma and raise their frequency. So you mentioned Jimmy Savile. Around the world, we've heard that name. Someone called him Seville. No, we pronounced it Savile. One of the ugliest looking human beings. I mean, there's a clue right there. Evil has a very difficult time in physically repressing itself long term. You can line up the world leaders and see how the insidious physical ugliness, Bill Gates, George Soros, people like that. People say, oh, don't say mean things about. Well, we're going to, because we're at such a time now where evil has penetrated to the level that we've got to speak out and speak up. So with Jimmy Savile, the white-haired rat boy that was possessed, absolutely peppered with demonics, dark energy, as you said, the Watchers. Some people have called the Watchers the Anunnaki. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, I don't, so I just go by what I see and how I understand it. So I don't read stuff, and I've heard that name Anunnaki, but I just know that the Watchers created the reptilians, and the reptilians were split, so they would always fight with one another. So that's why we have war in this country, war in different countries all the time. And yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, and that's fine because I've exhausted that subject on this channel,
Yeah,
the Anunnaki. So let's move
yeah.
on. Let's move on. Jimmy Savile. So how did you meet him? What town was the flat in, and were there other people around that you can talk about?
No, I, the program room that I was taken to a lot was the London Towers, BT, the London Towers in London. That's where the handler worked. And I, all I know that after I had oh, it was horrendous. So the program room, so this incident actually explains how everyone's been under mass trauma and mind control. But we just don't see it. But So when I remembered this, I sort of, I could understand why the establishment do what they do. So the mind programming, I was the mind programming room, basically the trauma based room. Entered into there. The memory was, they brought in animals and they slit the animal throat, and then I had to just, and then they locked the door, they closed the door, and I was just, I'm like 5, just watching this poor animal trying to, dying basically in front of me. And then they brought another one in, and then another one in. And so I was in absolute trauma. And then after that, they took me to the handler, we got in a black car, and he took me to a flat in London. So I knew it was London somewhere, I don't know where. And then after Jimmy, we went to Jimmy's apartment. And after that, after he raped me, within the rape, I was completely like out. It felt like outside my body, because you just don't want to go near the body. Yeah. But my consciousness just went right back. And that's how I was so outside, I was able to see the other reality that he was interacting with. And then after the rape, he kneeled down by my head, and he told me that I had killed the animals, that I had murdered the animals. And when I got the memory back, it all started to click, because when the heart is so scared, it kind of retracts back from the body. So you go into a different state. So fear is a horrendous energy for the heart, because when we're very frightened, we step away from the body more and more. And then the mind is very vulnerable, because it's lost its counterpart. The mental side has lost its truth. It's lost its connection. And then we're very, very vulnerable to believe lies. And if you look at what they do, like terrorist attacks, they scare the hell out of people. And then people retrieve back, and then you've got news telling you what happened to give you a reality that's not truth, because the heart holds truth. So if people stay connected to their heart, then we see through all the bollocks, basically. But they want us away from our hearts. And so it's not just me or the people go through mind program, it's all of the human race, because we are so powerful. Our hearts are so powerful. Yeah.
Amazing. And the heart is where the soul spirit resides. You know, Max Spears, who was another unfortunately traumatized young boy who was used as what's known as a super soldier, an enhanced soldier. He was systematically, it is believed, taken out of life, let's say unalived. But one of the things I made my team made a reel on my channel recently about him saying that the negative aspects that control the planet and humanity, they are trying to break the heart. They're trying to, disconnect the heart. And you can see it. And it's like when I look at the fields, I have to stay away from certain things because I get too out of my pram and I get too outspoken and I get a bit violent and a bit overpassionate. But when I see the neptards trying to cover the grass, trying to cover nature, real living nature with the solar panels, and knowing that they're trying to remove anything that has been created by Creator because they've loosed off us to try and force us to create a world they want to live in, a non-feeling, non-living, like an artificial environment. It just brings a rage I've got no words for. But the heart, as you say, and I say to people, read with your heart. You're reading with your heart first, not your clairvoyance even, not your kind of psychic spidey. Your heart is reading everything that creates an emotion, that creates an image, that then creates words to elicit, and share a view or a belief system. It's so crazy. And again, when you were saying about when Savile was physically harming you and the demonics or the entities or whatever were being released, the watchers, the little body cannot cope or deal with the horror. And so the consciousness is viewing itself, meaning
Mm.
that we're not the body, but we still are while we're in the bloody body. Like people have to, oh, it's not real. Do you know what I was thinking about this morning? I was thinking about my truth. Like, we pray that when the children are being, harmed, that yeah, we can leave our bodies, but we come back into them and we feel every single physical aspect of pain, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And where are the fucking angels in those moments? Do you remember seeing angels when you were being like, do you?
No, I'm not a big fan of angels and all that belief structure. I learned the hard way. I saw that angels and demons work on the same frequency, and they're basically there to, it's part of the religion. So to keep us small, keep us insignificant, because actually we're the creators. And therefore, if we give our powers away to angels or gods, then we're not claiming ourselves. We're like giving themselves power, and that feeds into the matrix system. So, um, part of the evolution is to own oneself, own our bodies, own our minds, and yeah, and know that we are here to save ourselves. You know, we have the ability to do that, the ability to evolve. But you're right. Like when I the trauma, so when the memories got released, and this took many years, bruises would come up. I would, like the body, like the trauma was so intense, it wasn't released at the time. And then when I released it, like the emotions, because the heart holds the emotion, which also gives you your memory back. So when it felt safe enough for the emotion to come up, even though it was decades later, it gave me the actually what took place at that time, because it's stored in the mind. And when the light is disconnected, you lose your memory, because just so, because consciousness, it's based, we're actually, there's a ball of consciousness at the base of our spine, and it goes up through our spine into the left side of the brain, and the right side of the brain decodes it. So when I look at someone's brain, and then everything that goes on in the brain goes on in the body, and if I look at a cell, it's fascinating, I love this, right? So you look at a cell, in the nucleus, inside that nucleus is the oneness. We're all connected to there. Around the nucleus is the light of us, which holds all the past lives. It holds you, it holds all your intelligence, all your wisdom, everything. And the membrane is the mental side. So say, for instance, you are mentally beating yourself up. You're mentally beating up a cell within your body. So everything that goes on in your body, everything that goes on in your mind, actually is manifested in your body. So we have everything within us. And your heart, every cell leads to the energy of the whole planet, to the universe. How we connect to, you know, feel a tree, to an animal, to each other, is actually the connection with our hearts, because everyone resides within our hearts. So, and the reptilians, they don't have that, because they don't have a heart. So they can't feel the planet. They can't feel themselves. The only way they have those feelings is they siphon off that energy off us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Wow. I just want to step back to the angels, to those that, I don't want to shatter, although we do have to shatter certain illusions, but I want to speak like, my experience. So let's say at the time when I was physically going through, let's say, violence, I would see myself leave the body, and I learned how to do that and watch and then come back. And then remember the stinging, the horrible stinging and the whatever. But I did have interactions with what I would call the angelic. But I am completely anti-religion, even though actually I'm an ordained minister. But that was only to marry gay people. That was my single intent, was to marry gay people. You know what I mean? If you love each other, I'm going to marry you. So it's got nothing to do with, I have no respect. But I know there's a beauty. I do think there's a beauty in every religion. But the bits where it's like love each other, help each other, be kind to each other. But this bowing down to any single, there's some bird banging around now out there on the internet trying to get everyone to worship let's say a previous Egyptian pharaoh, let's just call it that. And she's saying he's father. I'm like, what are you doing, you muppet? You're trying to retrain and reprogram a legion of followers to kind of go back into that pharaonic singular godhead. No, we're getting out of that game. That video game is done. Like we're all kind of up leveling. But yes, so the people that connect to the angels, I've had beautiful experience. For me personally, I've got a belief system based around a loving, but not for the religious and demonic plug-in. That bit I definitely do agree with you completely on. But again, we're all on a journey, and we get there and how we get there, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I feel the journey is, if I look back at my journey, when I started to wake up, I started to be very attacked, and they come in different forms. And it was I had to lose, basically, I lost trust with everything. And the only thing I could trust was myself. And my trust and belief was, I realized, the most powerful thing. And that's why the governments want your trust and belief. The religions want your trust and belief, because they know it's such a powerful energy, because it basically opens up your heart. And when you trust and believe in yourself, you give all that energy to yourself. If you trust and believe in the government, you're giving all that, your creative energy to them, all your light to them, to religion, to everything. So our life is for us. It's for who we are. So when we give our trust and belief in ourselves, we kind of we're taking responsibility for our life, because we are the creator of our life. When we're children, we're not, but we know the energies that we're coming into. And as an adult, part of becoming an adult is actually to be fully responsible, to know ourselves, know our frequencies, learn what's not us, transform what isn't us, and stand in ourselves. And that means take responsibility, but to do that, also to open up your heart, to bring more light in, because the light is never ending for us. So we have blooms in our life, and the more we trust and believe in ourselves, the more light can come in. And that light heals your body. It helps you manifest the things that you want. It's getting the heart empowered, because what religion done was disempower us and gave the power to the masculine side, to belief structures. And this is why we have a hierarchy, like a hierarchy within our system. We're believing people are better than us, where everybody is valuable, everybody is needed. So we have to balance oneself out. Most people that come to me, they start off, their mental mind is more powerful than their heart. So it's getting the heart to become empowered again. The heart is so psychic, it's so wise, it transforms the DNA. This is why we've had in our history, they were demolished women. Do you know what I mean? The rights and everything. It's because it's not just women, it hurts everybody, because everybody's got a heart. And the children, the Mother Earth, everything. So it's getting empowered, the heart getting empowered again. And that she runs the show. And the mind is the decoder of that. We follow the heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your light around you. It's so funny. I'm sitting just totally focused on you, and I can see like your light, your aura, whatever people want to call it, electromagnetic field. It's really wide and really, really bright. And people might think that we can't see that. It isn't just because I'm clairvoyant. Anyone can see it. Sometimes it's just when you're so relaxed and you're just listening to resonance that you can sometimes just see, that beautiful element there. And again, like I said, we've all got different understandings, and we tell different stories to ourselves in order to create a truth and a belief system that each individual is on. That's why we should never worship, celebrate, oh, celebrity, oh, my queen. No, no, no again. It's just insanity to me that people think you're being a bitch if you're saying, why are you following that person? Like him, take what resonates, but don't follow them. Why are you letting that person recruit you to hate who they hate? Come on. When are we going to wake up from that? You can't tell people, though. They just won't listen. I've written down so many things to talk about here that you keep on raising, that because there's just so much. I don't want to miss anything either. So I know I should stop talking to her. And say, stop talking, Dani. But it's so exciting to sit with someone who's also gone into all the outside elements, outside of the mind, into the consciousness. And so let me ask you a direct question. Are we living in a matrix system, or what else would you call it?
We're living naturally, but there are matrix systems that are connected to our beliefs, that create our belief systems. That's a matrix. So for instance, what I see, like, if for instance, I'm picking on religion today, but religion, so everybody believes in a religion, that frequency, everybody believes in a religion, it will be on their mental side because it's not of truth, and then it connects to everybody in the world that also is on that frequency, which then create it is a matrix. It's a different world, it's not truth. So and that then people interact with that world. So that is like it's a false reality. The alien system, the people like Galactic Federation and all that stuff, is to keep us in this savior. Someone's going to save me. We are the creators of our reality. We save ourselves. So it keeps us very small and insignificant. But so many people believe it. and interact with it, and then people are talking from that, and it takes the power of people. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do anything now because the aliens are going to do it for me. That's a matrix system. So I don't believe that this is a computer simulated reality. This is a natural reality. I'm consciousness. My body is a natural organic. Yeah. So it's but there are belief structures that keep us away from the natural of consciousness of who we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Definitely. And especially as you're talking about matching frequency. So because we're from the womb out programmed into some kind of a belief structure, whether it's religion, for example, we are going to meet and match on a different frequency. Where it changes is if you're a Muslim nutter, radical, that's going to die on the sword of Islam and want to get your virgins and all of that and make people submit through violence, which is not the beautiful religion of Islam. It's another obviously radicalized part of it. And but I'll meet you a certain way. Let's say if I'm a Catholic or a Jain. There's not many Jains left on the world now. That's a dying religion, so I'll pick Jainism right now. And I'll meet you at a certain level, but then we're going to diverge because the frequency match isn't perfect. Whereas if we're two Christians, let's say, on the same frequency, we're definitely going to kind of match, and we'll have a lot more frequency building that kind of creates this kind of matrix structure because again the program meets the program, and where people are totally like off, like, well, there's something odd because there's a discordance in frequency, a connection. You mentioned the Galactic Federation, so apparently there are two. There's Galactic Federation of Worlds, which is physical personnel doing a military position, and I've seen a couple physically, so I can't deny that. And that wasn't something that was fed to me. That's something that I saw, spoke of, and then it was explained that's who they are. So here's the other thing. We're also told Galactic Federation of Light is the New Age spiritual psyop. But here's the thing. I've got issues with both, okay? The Galactic Federation of Worlds, as it was explained to me, they're these, military personnel looking at Earth going, well, you can't join membership. Now, I remember hearing that years ago and thinking, piss off. I've got an issue with a federation of they're humans, right? They're not like supernatural, they've got better technology than us. They're people. People, shoot one, they're gonna bleed. And I remember thinking, don't tell me that my planet is gonna be part of a membership. That's when my kind of distrust of that and all the systems and people that promote and whatever, put themselves as godheads, figureheads. Because I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. Don't. That's more matrix shit as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
a hierarchy. Yeah, it's a hierarchy, and yeah, I think what I see us going is everything like that gets dropped. It's like psyops. It's and it does feel real because there's so many people believing it. The mental mind creates physical reality. So many people that believe a certain thing, a reality out there will be created from the frequencies. Our mental frequency is so powerful that the elite want it. This is why they want our attention all the time, because they utilize the mental frequencies to create the realities that they want to create. So then people are born into this, and it's always good and bad. There's two sides. It's so reptilian. It's how the reptilians were created. So there's a good side of the reptilian and bad. One's want good for humanity, one wants bad for humanity. It's religion, God, devil kind of thing. It keeps people in a lack of understanding, and they'll also paint themselves as good or bad. It's a very childlike energy that they use throughout the mind programming. So it's all mind programming. And when we kind of drop everything and realize, actually, I'll just go to my heart. I don't need anything. I don't need to be. People want to be attached to something because they're disconnected from themselves, and that feeling of being disconnected from themselves, they feel disconnected from their family, they feel disconnected from society. It's because their heart consciousness is not fully connected to their body, and they have this emptiness inside, and they want to belong. Yeah, they actually want to belong to themselves. They want their heart to connect to their mind. So that people come to me and go, I feel like I shouldn't even be here, like I'm an alien from another planet. It's because their mind is split so much so that they don't feel connected, and therefore they know this. They work on our traumas, so they're like, oh, you can come and join here, and we're going to save you. And because Adults, there's so much trauma going on. There's little children energy just wanting to be parented and wanting to be loved and wanting to be seen and felt special and everything. But it's actually us to do that for ourselves. We need to do that. That's our responsibility. We need to heal that inner child inside, because they utilize the traumas that we have as a child in order to get you into those systems. And that takes you away from you itself even more.
And honestly, I say it all the time. That's the key, inner child. And I say to people, just imagine
Yeah.
taking your 3-year-old, sit him or her on your lap. Just imagine wrapping arms around it. I do a lot of rocking. I'm on a lot of spectrums, apparently, and I'm whatever, just labels, right? So I get it. But I naturally will rock. People have considered that to be loony behavior, insanity. You'll see people banged up who are completely isolated by humanity rocking, but they're self-soothing. It's self-soothing. I walk around doing this, because I'm overstimulated. I don't hide it anymore. I'm just out there rocking and rolling and doing it. But my point is, like you said, it's the inner child. And so when these beautiful people, they're so desperate to belong to something, religion doesn't fit them, drugs don't fit them anymore. So they find a group of people, they've got this amazing epiphany of what life's going to be. They've just got to be with these people, they're friends, they're like-minded. And it's wonderful because it helps them hopefully to a limit grow or to, open potential in them. But like you said, the key is always going to be here.
Yeah.
Self-love, self-right connection, 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 no matter who they adore and celebrate and worship. So in terms of that, what would you say to people is the kindest way for them? They carry on doing what they're doing, like who they like, but they want to be back here connecting to that inner child. How would you recommend they do that?
Well, one, don't run away from yourself. How we connect back up to the body is actually allowing our emotions to come through the body. People get triggered, and it's like sitting with the trigger, sitting with the emotion that you have and allowing it through, because that's the inner child crying or getting angry and stuff. So when we are traumatized as a child, the emotion, if we're not allowed to express that emotion or we keep that emotion in, what it does is it detaches from a small part of the brain. And then the brain then sets up its perception of reality of oneself and sets up a coping mechanism to deal with reality without that light, because the brain needs light. And when the child is traumatized, it disconnects. So the brain is then left by itself. So not only do we suffer with rejection, abandonment from self, we'll also, as we get older, receive that on the outside. We'll manifest it. It's part of us to stop the rejection of self. We have to feel our emotions. We have to feel our heart. Now, when we've been traumatized, our heart is generally on survival mode. It may work like really run really quickly. You'll have different coping mechanisms, and those coping mechanisms need to be maybe looked at. It may be addictions that you have, unhealthy relationships that you have. It may be that you just work or obsessive cleaning or whatever it is. There's going to be something within you that actually is that your mind is overrunning, but you'll get triggered. So healing actually happens quite naturally, but people run away from it. They'll get triggered and they'll feel the emotion and like, no, I'll suppress it back down, however they want to suppress it. And actually it's just sitting with that emotion and allowing that emotion, because it's allowing the inner child to have a voice. And when we allow the emotions to come through, it starts to break down the coping mechanisms that the mind has created in order to suppress that emotion. So we start to then balance out in parts of the brain. The brain starts to feel oneself more. That means more connection to self, that heart connection. Our heart keeps our body alive. So that's more health, better health. We shouldn't have illnesses. The reason we have illnesses is because of the disconnections that we have. So a lot of people come to me because they're ill, and the medical establishment, they're at a loss. So it's like why they're ill. And it's generally something to do mental and emotional that's going on within them. So it's don't run away from self and feel your emotions. And to do that, we have to relax. We have to not run away from ourselves and relax. And what is upsetting you? Because stuff that's gone on, especially the first 7 years of life. First 7 years of life, you're just a sponge. You just absorb everything. You not only absorb your mum and dad's emotions, but how your mum and dad work with each other has an effect on how your brain develops. So when people come to me, it's looking at, so they could have, for instance, so I just, someone could have a car crash. So someone came to me the other day, they had a car crash. And when I'm looking at that car crash, she's got so much anger out of accidents. She can't understand, you know, she was struggling with an accident. There was an accident that happened many years ago and she never got over it. So another accident was created, and it was so she could understand the accidents. And she had so much anger a few years ago, and because she didn't release that anger or get to a place of acceptance and seeing that accident years ago as actually an accident, she was in blame and anger. She experienced another accident, so she could realize actually people that have accidents, it's not out of bad intent, just, you know. So it's like understanding, because your reality, we're actually in a school. So that school, we have to realize that those lessons that are being created, we're creating lessons in order to actually connect up, to evolve. And so once you understand, okay, what am I learning from this situation? You know, if someone's made you feel like shit, and it's like, okay, so where's the insecurity? What's the fear? Where's the boundary? If they overstepped a boundary, why? Because it may be that you have to build a boundary up, or it may be there's lessons in everything. So it's learning that actually, okay. And then because we generally lose trust with life as we grow, because we believe life, if I'm a good person, good things will happen. Well, that doesn't happen, does it? We're good people and shit happens. So we lose trust with life because we don't realize that actually we're here to evolve. And so we're going to experience not very good stuff, because not only the traumas that we have that come through the channel in our line have to be healed. So we're here to heal the DNA. And yeah, sorry, I'm rambling, Dani.
Oh, I love it because again, you're giving opportunity to. Are you still there? My friend in Japan was just trying to phone me. Did I
Oh,
lose you? Hold on, I can't
no,
see.
no, I'm here.
Sorry about that. Sometimes you just can't, the phone calls come in and there's so much there. You said about, when somebody makes you feel like shit, and you and I know that no one has that power. We give them that power. So we made ourselves. We let someone, even if they're screaming abuse, which a lot of men do and a lot of women do, to each other, right here, to their kids, to themselves, to each other, abusing that horrible, awful, violent frequency. And then we're like, they made me feel like shit. No, they've got so much power that you let them make you feel like shit. And for some people, that's a tough one. They can't turn that round. That makes them angrier. Then they'll go off you. Then they won't listen to you. They'll shut down because they're in that victim mode. Victims and martyrs are the most boring people on the planet. Because they're stuck in that ego narcissist loop. And I don't, it might sound harsh, but I think we're at a point now. It's like, get over it. Like all of us, I've had to, and I'm still learning and I'm still going to screw up. I'm still going to get stuff wrong, but I'm openly, publicly trying. And when I think I need to apologize, I apologize. And I wrote stuff down. I can't read my own writing now.
Sorry.
I was writing so fast. What you were saying, like, but I remember when I was at college and I did it. I thought I'd try. I'm very dyslexic apparently, and I try shorthand. Oh my God, I was the fastest in the class at writing it shorthanding with this other girl who was the cleverest girl at college. So I'm like, me and Jane, we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then we could leave the classroom. They'd be like, right, how fast did you write? I'd be like, 100 words a minute. That's me, 100 words a minute, right? Then they say, right, now transcribe it. I'd be like, oh shit, I can't read it. I can't read it. Anyways, that's what I've done there. I was writing so fast notes as you were talking. Gosh, at such a time as this, when we're really encouraging everyone to do the inner healing, to come to self. Let's go back to, you said that you started to recognize the way that this world is set up and being harmed by Freemasons. Not all Freemasons are bad. We keep saying that because we have to, because some people, that's all they hear. And then they choose to say, oh, Freemasonry is bad. No, it's been infiltrated. So when you were getting your memories back, when you
Mm-hmm.
started to awaken, how did that awakening occur? What was the situation for you?
Well, with the memory, so I woke up in my late 20s, and that was facing my insecurities. I had a very deep insecurity that I wasn't very bright, and it was obviously not true, but I wasn't utilizing my female energy because I blocked my heart out. So I looked at that insecurity and I battled with it because I believed I was stupid. And then I battled with this for a few days. And then I came to the conclusion I'm not stupid. And that opened up my heart and all this energy came out. And it was a crazy 6 weeks of my life. So I started to see the DNA in people and see that, alien frequencies within people. My heart started to teach me that, we're beings, that we live forever. This reality is a temporary reality in order to grow. There are beings here that don't have heart consciousness, no creativity. So I started to learn. And then it wasn't until a few years later, more heart consciousness, then your psychic abilities start to come in, because your heart sees beyond the physical reality. It works beyond the physical reality. So I started to I came back home because life fell apart, and I started to do hypnosis, quantum healing hypnosis, and reflexology. And when I was massaging people's feet, I noticed that although they were sleeping on the couch, sleeping on the massage chair, their consciousness was interacting with me, it was talking to me. So then I started to tell them afterwards, and there'd be a lot of tears and so I started to realize that I could interact with people without them mentally aware. So I started to, I was reading people. And then it's like my heart went off and I started to help lots of people. I got really booked out and really popular. And then the attacks came. And with those attacks, with the frequencies that I experienced as a child, because they can only attack the frequencies that you have within you. So the attacks, they were attacking the frequencies, the satanic frequencies I had no clue I had from as a child. So these black magician came through, the queen, beings, reptilians basically started to attack me. And then I started to realize that I was part of an energetic system that's not natural, a satanic system. And so what happened is that I started to get triggered. So loads of fear would come. And it was although my reality was fine, I had an enormous amount of fear. And I started well, why am I so frightened? What is making me so frightened? So I started to relax and ask, where did I first feel this? And then when I go deep and face my fear, that's when my heart started to show me, and all, the memories started to come out. So I started to realize that my emotional life didn't reflect my physical reality, and that my heart was trying to get to speak, to express, that my mind had completely blocked out. So I had to basically connect my heart and my mind together, and that's how I got my memories back. But it took a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Bearing in mind that you say that, you can read people, I get that too. I think everyone on the planet has an element of access to their natural metaphysical born. Part of being a human is having all these amazing skills, although sadly religion will kill that in you, and it will say it's the devil. They don't want you. Although all through the Bible, Nikki Allen, do you know who Nikki Allen is?
No, sorry.
One of my really close friends. I have a lot of close friends. I have a lot of what I call best mates. But I mean, I'm a very loving person, and Nikki Allen, she one of those people when you start talking about me, you want to laugh, because she's during the day I'll leave her a message, something I find absolutely funny, and then she'll message me back, and all I can hear is her laughing. Those silly, nutty people. But she's very much on the kind of angelic teaching element, psychic medium, clairvoyant, went through, again, similar situation with the three of us in many different ways, physical upset, let's say, that she freely talks about. But now I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I remember. So I don't know why I brought Nikki in though, but she's very special. When a person sees someone, there's always a response, and it's the say fight or flight, whatever it is. It's that primordial ancient part of us. So you look at someone, and sometimes you think, I don't like you, and you don't know why, you can't put your finger on it. But then sometimes, as I've learned, once you get to know that person, you then fall madly in love with them, and you don't really know what it was initially that there was a warning for. Could have been a past life person that reminded you, whatever. In your opinion and work and is what you do, why would you say that happens? What is it when we see someone, whether we don't like or we like? What is that? How can we trust that?
I suppose your gut intuition is like, this is, yeah, it could be past life. It could be that they have frequencies that you don't want to see of yourself that they're going to show you. um, it could be your heart, yeah, just warning you that it's this is not good. It could be picking up their intent, and that intent may not be good. Or people are in our lives to help us see ourselves, so we can transform ourselves, or to see ourselves so we can love ourselves more. People are there to help us, yeah, to ignite the frequencies and to heal. So, like, for instance, like I've been in abusive relationships, but those relationships were to help me build up the boundaries, to trigger the inner trauma that I had as a child, and to heal that inner child. So, and then, yeah, there's some lovely people that just, you resonate with, and it's just easy. And yeah,
Do you find that
so
the people that you might kind of resonate with because it's easy also have a similar amount of healing to do, and there's a safety in that because there's a non-threatening energy that's there?
um yeah, I think we naturally resonate with people who are at the same resonance with us. So there's a comfortability in it. And I think, for instance, um, asleep people stay with asleep people. And then there's different types of awakening. And I don't know it, you, but kind of like as you move and you grow, you kind of, people leave and new people come. So it's like, as your frequency changes, people come in and go. And I suppose your family stays the same, but yeah, people come and people go.
Mm. I think one element for people to look at too is like me, like I'm very much a warrior. I'm your ride or die. Like if I believe in you and I trust you, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to stand for you. I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to speak out. And I think at this stage of this kind of evolution that we're in, there's a massive mistake. Like for me in my life right now, it's a huge mistake because when you find out that the person you've kind of been incubating, they turn out to be something like a Trojan horse, let's say, then there's this level of guilt and stupidity and humiliation and self-blame and, all the rest of it. And I think people need to be really aware of that. And I say to people all the time, don't die on the hill or fall on the sword for another person. Don't let them recruit you to hate when you've got no reason to hate them just because they don't like someone. You choose to, we've all done it, people do it. And I think that there's so many traps right now that I'm even more kind of aware, so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I suppose if you go to school, when you go to school, there's a bully at school, and the bully needs people around in order to not face themselves. And it's like a target, like this is somebody bad, and it's for their own comfort, really, that they don't have to face their own behavior, that they justify their own behavior. And I suppose adults do the same to justify their own behavior towards somebody else, then they'll need recruits to do that. And I suppose the recruit may feel scared of that individual and then feel safe to be close to that individual because they don't want the same thing done to them. Part of the evolution is to stand by yourself, to stand on, so you stand, and part of the splitting of the brain, it leaves us very insecure and vulnerable and everything, and then it's created like this parasitic reality. If you look at reality, a lot of people are together not because they love one another, because it's a transactional thing, and friends could be a transactional thing. So to actually get people in your life that truly love you and you love back is the revolution, because we have them when we have a deeper relationship with ourselves, and we have the deeper relationship with the people around. So this sort of parasitic reality is what we're evolving out of. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, very parasitic. It's so interesting as well. I had a situation a while ago where it was so like, being a clairvoyant. What would you say your gifts are? Like list them out so people can also kind of relate to that. What would you say they are in terms of the clairs and other things that you do?
Oh, I don't even know the names, but yeah, I can speak to dead people. I basically look at people's brains. So my psychic abilities, I'm able to see their traumas, their perceptions, what they're feeling, their coping mechanisms. Basically, people come to me and they've got, if it's medical problems, if it's relationship issues, if it's anything that actually is going on in their life, and I help them understand why and where it originates from their childhood, because we'll recreate our childhood in order to heal, to reconnect with oneself. So kind of, but yeah, stuff pops up as in speaking to loved ones that have passed or even not passed. It's um, people, and then obviously the like the remote viewing. So every couple of weeks, people get together and ask me questions, and I kind of just remote view about what anything really, anything that's going on. So yeah, and it kind of just being open. Sometimes when I go in, it's like I could do a whole Q&A and I'm not seeing anything. It's just like knowings that come through, or the visuals are very, very strong. And it swaps depending on which area of the brain is more active than not. So I kind of leave it open. I never kind of pin myself to something, because you never know what's going to grow next. So I just kind of leave everything open, really.
Oh, I love that. You never know what's going to grow next. But again, it's just an expression of these incredible beings that we are, this ultimate kind of organic technology, that's just so amazing, so metaphysical, so powerful. So I
Yeah.
was saying that, one of mine is clairvoyance, and I'm not looking for it. I don't go around going, right, I'm going to clairvoyantly look at you. It just happens like me earlier, just, in a relaxed state. And then your aura went, wee, like expanded and constricted so I could see your light. And a while ago, I was with somebody, and anyway, things have become negative. And at one point, I remember looking at them, and I could see their physicalness here, but there was a massive gap in between, and then they were actually over here, and it was completely devoid of heart and love, and it was a terrifying image, and the person looked ancient, thousands of years old in this package. Yeah, it was really quite incredible. But in that moment, they knew the mask had dropped and I could see the mask, and I could see the being. And again, we're reflections. So I'm sure people look at me at times and think, what a bitch, what an ancient hoe. You know what I mean? And because like I said, we've all got things we have to learn, we have to face. Hold on a second, I'm trying to get rid of that. Darling Shanti. Yeah, we've all got things we have to face. We've all got things we have to heal. We're not always right about everything. We learn things in different ways. And I love the way that you teach. I mean, I see you as a teacher. Like I said, you're all over Facebook, popping up. You say some of the most shocking things, Rebecca. You do. You do. Like, I'm like, la, 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 scrolling through, seeing all kinds of rubbish. There's some lovely things, horse videos. I'm guilty of so many horse videos, dog videos, and then there you are, and looking to the side. I wonder sometimes, is that how you process? Because sometimes I do. Laura Eisenhower does that when she's processing. She'll talk to the side. She'll look off camera because she's getting her information. And anyway, but yeah, you go. Yeah, I was talking to Whitney Houston, and we're like, hang on, she died ages ago. What do you mean you're talking to her? So give us a bit of an insight into some of the people that you've gone soul to soul with.
Oh, I probably the most Britney Spears. That was heart wrenching, because I suppose because they're like a relatable, because she was trafficked as a child. So she took me all the way through her life and what happened through her life, and then that, I mean, obviously that was the only thing that was in common. But she was trafficked, and dad was a hybrid human. Dad is a hybrid human, and mum kind of, she's come from a bloodline kind of thing. And then she wanted, when she showed me when she shaved her head, and it's because she wanted out of the prostitution. She'd been a prostitute since she was a little girl, and then she wanted out of that, and that's why she shaved her head. and that the court case, and she was being prostituted to very sort of elite people, and they were so scared that she was going to say something, so they put her on drugs and controlled her as much as they possibly could, imprisonated her, and then when she got free and she went to the island after, they murdered her. So I didn't know I was going into that she'd been murdered. But yeah, and that what we're seeing is, but it was really heart-wrenching. It's a really heart-wrenching experience. And then Princess Diana, that was another heart-wrenching one. There's loads. People ask me, so on a Q&A, I usually get at least one celebrity. What's some lovely ones? Keith Ledger was a lovely man. Prince was a lovely man. Whitney love, but I love Whitney anyway. I love her music. Amy Winehouse.
All
That
right.
was sad.
So, because we're skipping some really beautiful people that are no longer with us, and people that love Britney Spears are going to say, "Are you mad, lady? You know, she's physically still alive, you know, as far as people can see." So you're saying that you believe that her soul is, she's been unalived, and the physical girl that we see now that looks incredibly like her, sounds like her, she looks like she's got some disturbed behaviors, which is elements of physical trauma, mind control. You're saying that she's not on the planet anymore.
No, no. So there's CGI. There's one, but there's also these elite use clones. They use clones. So who was the other? I think it was Nicole Kidman. She died a few years ago. And so we have clones. So the cloning companies, basically, they clone the celebrities, and the cloning companies make money out of the clones. But if it then becomes that the celebrity is worth more dead than alive, so they end up killing the original, and then the cloning company make all the money instead of before, when the original is alive, the original makes money from the clone. So this
Crazy.
horrendous like stuff that we don't like. That world is really screwed up. Yeah,
Do you
it's
think
really screwed up.
do you think some of the clones who they say that they have to transfer the original consciousness into the clone, do you think some of the clones don't know they've been cloned? And so they listen to you and go, well, that's ridiculous. I'm actually alive. Hello. Do you think there's an element of that?
Might be. I don't. I've never. I should actually do a journey to a clone, shouldn't I? And just ask their. I know that the cloning companies look after the clones, so it's not like they have a normal life. It's not like they go home, they have a house, and they go, back to a husband and children and stuff. So, yeah, but that would be a really. I'll have to do a journey for you, Dani, and then I'll send it to you after.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Do that because I know two men who I truly believe have been cloned, both by the American military. One is Tony Rodriguez, who speaks. He speaks at every conference I ever do. He was satanically abused, taken by ETs in the early stages, then sold into the military, then used as a drug runner in Peru. I mean, I can't believe he's still alive. He is a beautiful man. But when he was working on a craft. I think he was on Mars because it's all populated. Here's the thing. People are going to shit the bed. I can't believe I just said that phrase, but they are. When, I know it just came out, when they understand that the aliens, the ETs, for example, if they're inside the Matrix too. So I don't see how they're all free either. I really don't. And so people are going to have a really hard time because of the programming of making them higher than, better
Mhm.
than, bigger than. That's why I'm so against all this worshipping bollocks that's been happening or happens. But yeah, the ETs are part of the matrix system. So again, they're also not. They don't have the ultimate control. They're not going to change the world, and as you've said several times, they're not going to save us. So not to put people into panic, not to make people feel hopeless, because don't go into victim or martyr mode. But the healing, the inner child, the getting back in here,
Yeah,
getting back with
yeah,
you. It's a fucking lonely journey, but we're here to do that. We're here to do
yeah.
that. And go on, carry on, carry on.
the only way. There's no other way. In order for your DNA to change, in order for this reality to change, we have to bring more light in. In order to bring more light in, we have to connect up to our emotions, our light, which then, this is why people get triggered, is because we have to face our emotions. But those emotions are light that heals your body. It manifests your reality. It changes your physical reality, which then changes all of reality, because so there's only one way, so and then you'll realize how important you are, how you are the key to your own evolution, and no being outside of yourself has that power, only you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's like waking the awake up more and shifting them to themselves. And most people, when they come to me, they've done all the ET stuff, they've done this, and they may still have an interest, but ultimately they know that they're the key to their own evolution. And so it's understanding themselves, their difficulties and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. It's not, it's not going to a spa. It's difficult. But when we face ourselves, we grow. And um, that's what we're here to do. This is so that brings in this very sort of, I'm on the right path because you're following your light, and that then brings you more connection to self. And it's just it's what we're meant to do. This is what people go, why am I here? I'm like, well, you're here to evolve, and that's knowing oneself and to heal oneself. Yeah, everything else is just a distraction.
Mm. You mentioned
Mm.
Princess Diana. Tell us about her. Now, before you say anything, as far as I'm concerned, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me, and I don't care. That's fine. I feel that beautiful, that Pleiadian energy, whatever you want to call it. I think she was a beloved, a spicy, feisty mare as well. Not no one's fault. Bit of a naughty girl, yeah, my kind of girl. But I think that she came from a beautiful, benevolent, loving place. That's what I get when I link into her. What did you get when you spoke to her?
Yeah, I've done a couple of journeys with Diana. The first one was really quite emotional because she's big heart, like big heart. She comes from an elite line, so the DNA of hers, but the strong heart. And she was obviously the marriage was arranged. There was no love there, although she believed that they were going to be. He was the husband, but he treated her very badly. Actually, the whole of the royal family treated her very badly. She's very isolated, basically a baby making machine. She told me she had lots of affairs. She told me that Harry is not the son of Charles. They killed her. And one of the reasons why they killed her is because she was pregnant at the time. She knew that she was going to die. She was saying she told her life of like the royal family. She said she wasn't allowed to be a mother. You could only spend like 2 or 3 hours with the children each day, and the children were brought up by nannies. She said so it's like they didn't want you to have contact with the children. It's on YouTube. It goes on for about 10-15 minutes, just this conversation with her. But she came across really lovely. I liked her. She was nice. And I just did another one of late. I don't know why I went in. It just went off. I think someone was asking about Harry but she was saying that she lost her children very young. The reptilian DNA kind of got to them. So they lost their connection to their heart.
The other person that I would I mean our hearts get broken all the time, and when I hear like I think, oh no, not them as well, not this person. But Michael Jackson, I think the things he was accused of happened to him. I think that he was horribly by different people, because people don't realize that these children that are selected to become MK Ultra celebrities, or the young leaders now in political positions, or heads of government, heads of state, heads of corporations, they've all been traumatized themselves. A lot of them have been traumatized themselves, right? MK Ultra. And I don't believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that Michael Jackson was a raping pedophile. What did you find when I'm going to assume you've linked into him.
Yeah, I've been asked to look into a couple of times. He was he had kept, so his heart consciousness was at a child level. So to say like he's mentally unwell, and then his mind had been completely taken over by the reptilian kind of agenda. So a very, on his mental side, an incredible businessman, So when he was switched, when he was on his mental side, he was like this adult businessman, and then when he was in his heart, he was like a child. And unfortunately, I did see that the business side of him, that because it was he's compartmentalized. So when he was in his heart, it was like this innocent little boy, and then when he was in his mind, it was very rappy.
Yeah, it's so sad that people who've been so physically harmed and abused in order to survive create these departments or compartments or alters, alternate parts of humanality, alternate characters, alternative personalities. And that's where DID comes in and multiple. They bloody like it's bogging me. Yeah. So okay. Well, anyway, I love that I can feel into his the heart of him and because there was some big people that like George Michael was beloved, Michael Jackson was beloved, Princess Diana. There have been specific icons, let's say, in the last 40, 50 years that have really kind of leveled an element. When people think of them, they can feel this resonance, and there are other people who we are programmed to feel that resonance, like it's very difficult, isn't it, to discern for everyone because everyone's got their own level of damage, that they don't always get it right, pick up frequencies. And then, if you're wrong, you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong, and not everyone's right. So, we definitely are on an individual seeker's journey, aren't we?
We are, yeah. I think it's the learn, I suppose knowing ourselves, and the more we know ourselves, the more we connect to our own hearts, then it's easy to decipher on who to trust and really knowing the stories of those celebrities, but behind it, it's they're all part of that system. So they're kind of like they show little nuggets of actually what's we've been living in, and how they've been manipulated and controlled, and how they do that is through the abuse that they experienced as a child. I know, like when I started to wake up and memories started coming back and the attacks and everything, the reptilians, they're incredible at understanding the brain and then getting into the traumas to trigger the traumas. So you go into, so that the way that they travel and interfere with people on the system, on their system, to keep them as slaves, to keep them attached to the system, so that they don't want those beings to be free. And I suppose if you see it with George Michael or Princess Diana or Michael Jackson, there's part of them that they want to be free, and that freedom is in with every single one of us. We want freedom to be ourselves, freedom to express everything. I know that is the energy that has kept me going, is that pure want to be free. And this is why we shouldn't dampen our wants. We shouldn't dampen our wants, because our true wants in the collective consciousness is freedom. It is freedom.
Beautiful.
George Michael, freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And Prince was another one. I believe he was a pure soul.
Yeah.
He saw and he was trying to get out. And it's so sad. Some of them are definitely worth more money dead than alive. And so they're taking out the game. And more and more people will stand and be named and be shamed and be held accountable. And I can't believe that anyone in the system knowingly harming humanity can think that they can escape, because they won't. Even if they try and consciously disappear, everyone's got a signature imprint somewhere. You know what I mean? There's no hiding. You can't, even in lead, a lead box or whatever. Anyway, this has been absolutely fascinating. I'm so thrilled that you said yes to me. Thank you so much. I know that you are seeing people, you have groups, you have gatherings, you have Patreon, you have private groups. So tell us the name of your book, why we should buy it. Tell us the way we can connect to you, get readings with you, and all of that good stuff, please, Rebecca. Take your time.
Oh, bless you. Okay, so I have a website called findthelight-rb.com. And on there, I've got a seminar in January where I teach people how to connect to their hearts in remote view, basically themselves, to heal themselves. I also have got an anxiety and depression clinic coming up, so you can come and I'll pick people, and people understand that anxiety and depression is something to do within themselves, and also a chronic pain clinic. I've got Patreon. So on Patreon, I've got healing groups. Now, they tend to be all booked up, but you can join and you'll get extra videos from me. because I do videos on my Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. And then I've got a question and answer, and that's always available. So you can come along and ask me a question. I can remote view on that. So they're on my Patreon. And then I've got my book. So that One Set of Footprints. It's my experiences as a child, sad experiences as a child, but also empowering, because it's how I've healed myself, and also how I've understood the satanic system that runs the governments and the churches and the royals and all around the world and everything. So I've got that book, and you can download it if you want from Patreon. Yeah, and read about me, and but also help you understand reality.
Beautiful.
I think that's it.
I think that's a lot, my love. I think that's so great. And I know that the people that come to my channel, they're awake, they're aware, they're seekers. You know, a lot of them are really honest with themselves and their healing journey. A lot of them are really aware not to follow, not to worship, not to put somebody on a pedestal. We can acknowledge them, we can love them, we can thank them for information they bring, which then, you know, helps to add to our own individual belief system, because there isn't just one belief in this life we're living. Obviously, how could there be? We're also different in so many ways, and we've got to, you know, get there. And I think even the title of your book, One Set of Footprints, is very powerful indeed. So, Rebecca Barron, so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that all of your information is underneath the broadcast, guys, not in the live chat, but underneath this broadcast. And thank you, Rebecca. Look forward to you returning at some point. And to the beautiful audience, I thank you so much for being here. My name is Dani Henderson. I do send love from my heart to yours, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Dani.